And welcome
to Nightmare Nation,
the paranormal-themed podcast where we talk about haunted places around the world.
And scary things.
And possessions.
Oh, and demons.
And cults.
Ghosts.
Witches.
Seances.
Aliens.
Malians.
Male aliens.
Aliens. Whalians.
Whalians. Gay aliens. Girl aliens. Or gay aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Those fun guys.
Don't know if they're gay aliens, but
why not?
Yeah.
There could be. Aliens can be gay. Yes, exactly. Don't pretend to know what aliens' sexual preferences are, okay?
I will never, ever do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, aliens, if I have offended you.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that the aliens are definitely listening to this podcast.
Definitely are.
So.
This is their secret way in.
Ooh.
We filter all the information to them. They're secretly on, like, a radio wave right now through our recorder, our microphone.
Or recorder. The thing used to record our beautiful voices.
Yes, and they're just like swimming in the wires.
And then do they use that to like broadcast their brainwaves and then they take over, and that's why people are so stupid, because it's the aliens taking over their brainwaves through our podcast?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, sorry about it.
You're just getting infiltrated by aliens.
The aliens are penetrating your brainwaves so hard.
Gross.
Intense penetration.
Going in there deep.
Through your ear holes.
Delicious. Sounds terrible.
I'm Annie.
Hey, I'm Anna.
What's up?
That's us.
Here we are.
Should know who we are.
And we're just basically here to talk about any sort of like paranormal interesting thing that is hard to explain or scary in any way. It can even just be real mysterious, because that's what we do these days. Our umbrella has broadened.
It has.
We opened it up wide.
Such a wide umbrella. Just fucking cracked open.
Spread eagle. I'm being very sexual tonight. I don't really know what's happening, but here we are, and here you are. Welcome.
We're here.
We're so glad you're here
for listening to us and all the nonsense that we bring every single week to your ear holes.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy it. We're making our waves in the podcast world, okay?
Yeah, the alien waves.
Yeah.
Alien brain waves.
They're coming for you.
Yep.
Sorry, not sorry.
Nope.
They're best friends.
Yeah, that and Satan, my husband, of course.
Yeah.
Husband and best friend in the whole world.
Yep.
He's the best.
He is.
Except for when he makes people do crimes.
Which
is kind of what we're here to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a haunted place. It's more of a haunting possession story.
Yeah, but before we dive into it, though.
Oh, yes.
We had a scary movie marathon last Tuesday.
Yes, and this story is sort of part of that, which is why I started talking about it.
Okay,
but yeah. So we did back-to-back movies in the movie theater.
It was the greatest thing ever.
We snuck in little wine juice boxes.
We had our little wine juice boxes and a little bottle of Jim Beam Peach.
It was delicious.
It was so great.
And I've never seen two movies, I think, back-to-back ever.
No.
Like in a movie theater.
No.
And it was $5 Tuesday at Marcus, so we got a good discount on tickets.
Oh, gosh.
And had popcorn.
We got away with two movies and, like, large pop and a large popcorn for the price of, like, one ticket.
Like, less than $20 per person.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was sweet.
Yeah. Good deal.
It was the best.
So, guys, if you... I don't know. I think Marcus is in a couple of other states. If you live anywhere near a Marcus Theater, go support them. They are awesome.
Yeah.
And $5 Tuesdays is no joke. It's the best.
The only day I will ever go see a movie.
Yeah.
Again.
So we saw... The first one was The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Uh-huh.
And then we saw A Quiet Place 2, which I really liked.
It was so good.
It was very intense.
Yes.
The more I had time to think about it, though, the more irritated I got. And I'm going to just flag this with spoilers, because I'm going to talk about some specific things that happened in the movie. So if you haven't seen it, please go see it. It's very well done.
And skip ahead, so
skip like 2 minutes or something. But John Krasinski came back for like the opening scene.
John Krasinski is just my
He's just like the quintessential cute dad in that movie. He's just so charming. And just adorable. And he, like, goes and, like, buys oranges from the supermarket. And I'm like, you're so cute. Yeah. Like, he could do literally anything. And I'd be like, oh, my God, you're just the cutest.
He's just the best.
Yeah. But so there's the acting is all very well done. It's very tense. They added a couple of, like, new elements that added to the horror that weren't in the first movie. So I really appreciated that. I got really irritated thinking about, so there's a scene where the family has separated and the daughter is like going to try to find this island, and they're on these docks trying to find a boat, and they get besieged by like local like bandits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would there be bandits in a world where making sound gets you killed? Because if you're gonna like freaking rob people, which is exactly what happens in the movie, they like tie these people up and like take their shit, and then they purposely make a bunch of noise to draw the aliens in. I'm like, wouldn't anyone you try to rob and like steal from just like be like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna scream and make a bunch of noise? Like, why would you try to bother?
Well, because then that person could potentially get killed if they weren't smart enough to jump in the lake.
But then, so that's the other thing is like, apparently none of these people realized, like, even though they lived in the docks, none of them realized the aliens couldn't swim.
Yeah.
And they didn't decide to like jump in the water. They're all like running away like, oh no. I'm like, just go in the water. How do you not know? Swim. You haven't figured out by now that they can't swim. You haven't seen one fall in the water. And then they go to this island and they realize that there's been this like secret broadcast signal going over the radio playing the song Beyond the Sea over and over again as like a clue, like, hey, the aliens can't swim, come to our island. I'm like, why would you...
Who would ever, like, think of that? And why would you have a radio on if you're supposed to be silent?
But also, like, why would you not just say, hey, by the way, the aliens can't swim, come to our island? Like, do you think that the aliens are, like, listening to the radio and are gonna, like, figure out your
we're
secret?
Gonna figure out how to get to you now.
Like, why... Like, in I immediately thought of I Am Legend, where he's, like, broadcasting over the radio every day, like, hey, I'm still alive, I'll be at the docks at noon every day. If there's any survivors, come here. Like, why would you not... Just do that instead of being like, we're going to play this cryptic song and hope that someone figures it out. I'm like, I don't know. So I really liked it. I just thought there was a couple of pieces of plot that like didn't really make sense, but you know, it was still very, very good.
There were a couple different jump scares in it too.
There were some good ones.
They all really got me because they were all obviously unexpected.
Well, yeah.
Freaking out.
Mm-hmm. And well,
I haven't been jump scared in so long.
It also helps that, like, you're in the movie theater and it's so much louder than, like, that's the kind of movie you go to the theater to see because the jump scares and the action scenes are so loud and it makes you just, like, like freak out in your seat.
Yep.
So I recommend seeing it in theaters.
Yes, it was so good.
It was quite good.
And, of course, they left a little cliffhanger at the end. I won't tell you how it ends.
There's totes going to be a part 3.
But, yes, there is going to be a part 3.
I'm pretty sure John Krasinski already confirmed that part 3 is, like, already in the works.
Yes, that's so exciting.
He's like, the people are going to watch this movie. It's going to be good.
Well, and it's such a fun concept from any other scary movie that's out there. Like, most of the time, it's just loud, bombarding noise, like a strangler coming at you with a chainsaw, which doesn't make sense.
He's gonna strangle you and then cut your head off.
Yes.
Double whammy.
Like, you get the intense, just loud bangs and screams and yells, and this is just so different because they have to be silent. Mm-hmm. And so then the little jump scares or the bursts of noises,
because you're not expecting it.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And it's just such a different concept for a scary movie, and I just love it.
Yeah. Well, and just all the family, like the actors just shine. They do such a good job, and like, yeah, it was quite good.
It was very good.
Very good.
And then our second in
speaking of now order, but first movie in actual seeing at the theater order. That sentence made sense.
Yes, it did.
I can speak words.
Followed.
Thank you. I hope you all did enjoy that scramble of word nonsense.
'Twas The Conjuring 3.
The devil made me do it.
No!
Which, apparently, that's the name of the actual court case, like, in real life, that the movie is based off of.
I didn't realize that.
So I'm like, why would they name it The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It? That's so stupid. And I'm like, oh, it's because that's what they actually called the story that it was based on. That's what they called the whole, like, story and trial. So if you didn't know, that movie is based on a true story, as were the first two. But of course, it's like, my understanding is the first like third to half of the movie is pretty much based on the actual events, and then the like how it gets resolved and the actual all the stuff that like followed in terms of the haunting and stuff was like not at all factual. Well,
I'm sure they needed to zhuzh it up a little bit to keep the story going besides just like the first half of the movie.
Right.
Because
I mean, yeah.
how it ends, it's just like, oh, okay,
and then they went to trial and this
is.
happened, and then the
Right.
end. Yeah, that would not be very cinematic.
No.
So, spoiler alert again, in the movie, there's like, Ed and Lorraine Warren discover that there's this like satanic witch who's essentially cursing these people, and that's why this horrible thing has happened to them. And they have this really, really over the top like encounter, like climactic encounter with the witch.
Yeah, that was a little aggressive at the end.
It was just so like, I'm sorry, I didn't love this one as much, like nearly as much as the first two. I didn't think it was that scary, and I thought the acting was fine, but it just like some of it, I found myself sort of like giggling a little instead of being scared.
It was a little like compared to the first two, just how it ended. Like I thought it was a really good movie just overall, but how it ended, it was just like cartoony almost.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't very scary, and you knew what was coming, and with the first two, like, they were scary. The first one was terrifying. Like, they did a very good job, but this one, I'm like,
I felt like there was a few moments of, like, genuine, like, dread that I felt. Like, there's one scene in particular when they're, like, investigating this body in the morgue that I felt was very creepy.
Oh, gosh,
and then they ruined it because, like, okay, just this whole episode is spoilers, you guys. Like, I'm sorry. Go see the movie anyway, but... They're in the morgue, and there's this body that they pass by on a table that's like covered in a sheet. And then at another point later in the scene, they turn around and the body's gone. They like hear the whisper of the sheet coming off the table, and they turn around, there's no body. And I'm like, oh,
classic part of a scary movie.
Literally, first time I was scared the whole movie, and I was like, this is it. Here we go. Yes, ready for it. And so it's creepy because they're like wandering around slowly, like waiting, and you like hear this creepy like breathing coming from a corner, and you look, and there's this like corpse standing facing the wall in a corner in the morgue where like the lights are basically out. It's like very creepy. And then it turns around, and it's this giant, like, 400-pound freaking samurai. Oh, my God. He's a 400-pound samurai. He was wearing his traditional samurai garb. He had a sword. No, sumo wrestler-looking guy.
Yeah.
He's just this big fat dude, and then he goes, moo, and, like, runs at them, like, grunting like a fucking troll. I'm like... This is no longer scary.
It's just ridiculous.
It's just like a giant, like not saying that like fat people are funny, but the fact that it just ended up being this giant, like
and
super
he was just, like,
fat, like
super,
like
he was clompy.
He was like clomping away and grunting like a troll, going. I'm like, okay, why? That's not scary.
Yeah.
At all. I was like,
could have
laughing.
just kept him in like the corner or done something else with it.
What I would have done is, as he was turning to look at them, the lights go out completely. So you don't actually see he like starts to turn towards them, and then the lights totally go out, and then like some jump scare happens or something. He doesn't just turn around and run
and
at
just
you
start
like
running.
I'm like, all right, you're just
You're
a freaking
cool.
samurai warrior.
Samurai warrior coming at you in the morgue.
Look out, that's pretty strange. So,
oh man. So if you haven't guessed, tonight's episode
is the true story of the not very true movie, The Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It.
The Devil.
Also known as the trial of Arne
Cheyenne Johnson.
Yeah.
Like when I was looking up my notes and I had to send the page to Annie, I'm like, is this
She's
right?
like, is this the right person? I'm like, yes.
I want to make sure I'm doing my research correctly.
Yes. So I want to say, in the movie, this is what they said anyway, I want to say it's the first time demonic possession was ever brought into court as like an actual like legitimate defense for not just like trial by or like non-guilty for reason of insanity, but not guilty for reason of demonic possession.
Correct.
And that was the first time they had ever done that in the court history of the United States. So,
which is so cool.
It was super cool. And in fact, in the movie, it was so funny. They were like trying to get the defense lawyer to take the case. And she's like, you know, look, I really want to help your client, but really demonic possession. And Ed and Lorraine Warren look at her and they're like, why don't you come have dinner at our house? We'll introduce you to Annabelle. And then you can let us know if you wanted to. And then the next scene is her in court. Because
she's just like sitting at the bench, just like shivering, and you can just see her visibly upset.
She's like, Your Honor, I'd like to plead non-guilty for demonic possession. I'm like, oh, she met Annabelle.
Yep, she
met
did.
Annabelle. I thought that was so funny. Oh my God.
It was so perfect.
Best scene in the whole movie.
Oh man.
For sure.
Friggin' Ed and Lorraine.
Love them.
Classic.
So cute.
They're so cute.
Oh, and then again, at the end of the movie, they played, and during the credit scene, they showed pictures of the actual people who were portrayed in the movie. And they've done that in the last two, too, which is really cool.
I love it.
It's great.
So, the trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson.
Here he is.
Conjuring 3. My source.
Wikipedia.
Thank you, Wiki.
Also, my source, our sole source of information.
Sole source
of information for tonight's
Just
episode.
what we find.
It's the best.
The trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, also known as the Devil Made Me Do It case, is the first known court case in the United States in which the defense sought to prove innocence upon the defendant's claim of demonic possession.
Sorry I spoiled it, guys. That's what it is.
So that is what it is.
Yep.
And I think that's so cool.
It is very cool.
Because you don't ever see that now. Even if it is possession, it's always reasons of insanity.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they know it's not good. I mean, okay.
Your evidence doesn't hold up in
not
the court
so much.
It's
a little trickier to prove.
A little bit. So, November 24th, 1981, in Brookfield, Connecticut, Arne Johnson was convicted of first-degree manslaughter for the killing of his landlord, Alan Bono. According to testimony by the Glatzel
Yep.
By the Glatzel family, 11-year-old David Glatzel had played host to a demon, and after witnessing a number of increasingly ominous occurrences involving David, the family decided to enlist the aid of Ed and Lorraine Warren,
my heroes,
in a last-ditch effort to cure David. The Glatzel family, along with the Warrens, then proceeded to have multiple priests petition to the church to have a formal exorcism performed on David. The process continued for several days when a demon eventually fled the body of the child and took up residence in Arne. So then several months later, Arne killed his landlord during a heated conversation. His defense lawyer argued in court that he was possessed, but the judge ruled that such a defense would never be proven and was therefore infeasible in a court of law. Arne was subsequently convicted, though he only served 5 years of a 10 to 20-year sentence.
Because he was a nice guy.
He was so nice. But, I suppose it was just manslaughter, so it's not as...
It wasn't
intense.
like a premeditated... I mean, I'll get more into it. It wasn't premeditated. It was like a... Just unfortunate thing that happened. Yeah. I mean, hey, people get let out of jail early from stuff that I cannot believe. I'm like, you let that piece of shit out of jail for good behavior? Like, I won't get into that, but crazier things have happened.
So Arne and Debbie Glatzel provided first-hand accounts for the version of events depicted in Discovery Channel's A Haunting episode where demons dwell.
Ooh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Right? Like, I love that show, but I had no idea that this story was on that show.
What's the show?
A Haunting.
A Haunting.
On Discovery Channel.
Oh,
Have you ever watched it?
No, but we just got Discovery Plus. I bet it's on there.
Well, because that's where A Haunting in Connecticut came from.
Oh.
It's on that show, and it's family stories of their haunting experiences.
Sweet.
And it's like an hour-long show that just documents what they experienced and everything. So it's like a little mini paranormal movie.
Well, that's neat.
I love that show. So they didn't believe in demonic activities themselves, but they claimed their father to be an eyewitness to demonic possession. Both Johnson and Debbie were adamant in their support of the Warrens' recollection of the events. They asserted that paranormal activity began after they went to clean up on a rental property they had just acquired. David recollected that an old man appeared, pushing him and terrifying him. The couple initially thought David was using the old man as an excuse to avoid cleaning, but David informed them...
Sounds typical for... Because he's what, like 11? He's a little kid? Yeah.
Yep. So, of course, he's going to try and make up any excuse to not clean his room.
Yeah.
I would. But David informed them that the old man had vowed to harm the Glatzels if they moved into the rental home. So David's visions of the old man included the man appearing as a demonic beast who muttered Latin and threatened to steal his soul.
Oh, hell no.
That would be fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Having this old man speaking in Latin and telling me that he's just going to take my soul.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, and
no,
it said, too, in, like, beast form, too,
yeah.
right? A demonic beast? Yeah. Nope.
I don't fucking think so. So although the family allegedly heard strange noises coming from the attic, no one but David ever witnessed the old man. After David experienced night terrors, exhibited strange behavior, and obtained unexplained scratches and bruises, the family called upon the services of a Catholic priest who attempted to bless the house. So David's visions worsened, occurring in the daytime as well, which I feel like when things like that start to happen in the daytime, you know the possession is like the person is it's taking over that person's body because they're not just coming out at night anymore.
I still remember, because like in horror movies, daytime's supposed to be safe, right? Like that's just kind of the like no jump scare zone. Like we have this unwritten agreement with the makers of Hollywood horror movies that you don't scare people in the daytime. And the first movie that ever effectively did that, I feel like, was Insidious, which also has Patrick Wilson. So good. I just love him. He's so great as Ed Warren, and he's so good in those movies, and also in Phantom of the Opera. Just a quick side note, but in that movie there's like a scene where I think it's maybe his character, I can't remember, someone's sitting at a kitchen table and talking to someone else, and the camera pans back to the other person in the conversation, and a freaking like red demon devil face like pops out behind the person's shoulder, and I remember being like, fuck this shit, it's daytime, you can't do that. You're not supposed to scare me. We're supposed
not
to
allowed
think it's
to do
safe.
this.
Like, this is my safety zone, and you violated a sacred agreement.
Not anymore. Thank you, Insidious.
No such thing as a safety zone, I guess.
No, ma'am. So, David's, like I said, daytime, they worsened. Then 12 days after the original incident, the family summoned the self-proclaimed demonologists Ed and Relaine.
New character.
I guess so.
This is Relaine Warren. Lorraine Warren's cousin with a different last name.
Oh, God. Okay. So the family summoned Ed and Lorraine Warren to assist. When I read that, I just think of them like sitting around in a circle, lighting candles, and like
having a seance
to summon Ed
Help
and Lorraine.
us, oh mighty Ed and Lorraine of the Warren family.
Like, that is the only seance I would ever do.
Oh, God.
Is to summon
their ghosts?
Yes.
Oh, because they're dead now.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Right?
We could talk to them.
Hey, friends, tell us your stories.
Was it all real? Were you lying?
Tell me.
Oh, my God. Okay. That's a one-time seance exception?
Yes.
No other exceptions?
No, just
that's
them.
it.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
Lorraine allegedly witnessed a black mist materialize next to David, which is apparently an indication of a malevolent presence.
Yeah, I believe it.
So if you ever see a black mist, run. Because it's bad news bears.
Go take a bath in holy water.
Yeah.
Stat.
Run and don't walk.
Yeah.
So Debbie and her mother told the Warrens that they had seen David being beaten and choked by invisible hands, and that red marks had appeared on his neck afterward. David had started to growl, hiss, speak in otherworldly voices, and recite passages from the Bible or Paradise Lost.
What?
I don't know what that is.
It's a famous book? I'm sorry. It's a poem.
Oh.
An epic poem.
An epic poem,
from the 17th century. Why would that little kid know lines from that poem?
Yeah,
I guarantee he hasn't read it. Epic poems, when it's labeled an epic, it means it's like a bajillion pages long.
Right. And if it's from the 1700s, like, you know, that doesn't sound like an exciting thing to read.
Perhaps not.
So after all of this stuff started to happen, the family each night would remain awake with David as he suffered through spasms and convulsions. So after receiving a prognosis of multiple possessions from the Warrens, David was subjected to 3 lesser exorcisms. Lorraine asserted that David levitated, ceased breathing for a time, and even demonstrated the supernatural ability of precognition, specifically in relation to the manslaughter Johnson would later commit.
That's Arne.
Which is different from how they portrayed it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened is you never saw this vision, but Lorraine had the vision when she was in the police station or like at home or whatever, and called the cops to let them know that something was happening and that they need to go check out what's going on.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, slight creative liberty, but
a little different.
You know, it's more dramatic if she's like trying to call from afar. It's like, you have to help them. Something bad's gonna happen.
So in October of 1980, the Warrens contacted Brookfield police. Oh, probably because the kid may have told Lorraine, which then they contacted the police later on.
I see.
To just let them know.
Got it.
that a situation was becoming dangerous.
I see.
So according to eyewitness testimony, Arne Johnson coerced one of the demons, purportedly within David, to possess him while participating in David's exorcism. So this was in the movie.
Yep.
And the kid, like, was contorting and being weird, and then the brother, like, looked into his eyes and, demon, come to me.
Yeah, like, I mean, he didn't, like, that article makes it sound like he, like, did it for fun. He's like, oh, and then he coerced the demon. It's like, no, he did it because, in the movie anyway, he was like, take me instead, like, leave him alone, you asshole, like, take me, and then it did.
Yep.
And, I mean, they portrayed in the movie anyway that he had a very warm relationship with David and, like, really cared about him, because he was Debbie's boyfriend, and obviously knew David really well, and was like, you know, keep your chin up, kiddo, and then the freaking thing happened, and he got possessed by a demon, so, you know.
That's fun.
It's good times.
Yeah.
But
So it is here that in A Haunting, it veers away from the circumstances of Johnson's possession as described by those involved. So according to the show, a few days after Johnson egged the demon on during the exorcism, he was attacked rather viciously by the demon, which allegedly took control of his car and forced it into a tree.
Whoa.
Fortunately, Johnson was unharmed. So after this incident, Johnson returned to the rental property to examine an old well that supposedly housed the demon. In both the dramatized version and his personal account, Johnson recollects that this was his final encounter with the demon while completely lucid. After encountering the demon at the well and making eye contact with it, he
Don't
became
do that.
possessed.
Don't look it in the eye.
I know.
Bad move.
So that's a little different from the movie, because this says that he got possessed from the well unless he was possessed by a separate demon that was not the one.
I would assume it's the same one. So, like, and this happens in one of the earlier movies. I think it's actually the first Conjuring, where they talk about the different stages of possession, where first it's, like, manifestation, and you are, like, seeing it, and then there's, like, the second step, and then the third stage is full-on demonic possession, where it actually possesses you. So I think it's probably the same demon, and it just had, like, latched onto him and was manifesting and, like, showing itself before it finally, like, took over him. Like, there's, like, I forget what they're called, but there's, like, the 3 stages of demonic possession.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
That's my best guess.
Okay. So the Warrens claim to have warned him not to do this, so don't make eye contact with the demon.
Like I said.
Right?
Even I know that.
So as David's condition worsened further, Debbie and Johnson, who had been living in her mother's home, decided it was time to move. Aww. Debbie was hired by Alan Bono, a new resident in Brookfield, who was a dog groomer. Debbie and Johnson began renting an apartment close to her place of employment. After moving in, Johnson started to exhibit odd behavior and was strikingly similar to David's, causing Debbie to fear that he had become possessed as well. So according to Debbie, Johnson would fall into a trance-like state wherein he would growl and hallucinate, but later have no memory of it. And fucking then terrifying.
And then shit goes downhill.
Fuck.
And
real quick.
So to all the people who might, like, be skeptical of, like, what happens next and try to say that, like, the murder was not caused by demonic possession, like, he started exhibiting weird behavior before he murdered the guy. It wasn't like, I'm pretty sure, unless this truly was premeditated, and he was a very good actor and just, like, totally made it look like it was accidental, and then was like, oh, and had, for several days leading up to the incident, had been, like, trying to act like he was possessed by a demon, which I find unlikely.
Yeah.
Why would all of the stuff where he was, like, growling and can't remember and things be happening leading up to the event, like, preparing him for a defense plea? Like, that just seems weird to me. That would have taken a lot of, like, planning.
Well, and you would have thought that if it was premeditated, he would have tried for insanity instead of a demonic possession.
Unless he was trying to use the story of, like, David as his sort of... But, like, he would know, if he was smart enough to premeditate all that, he would have been smart enough to know that demonic possession probably wouldn't hold up in court.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like, I don't know.
And so he wouldn't have had probably as big of a sentence as he got.
Mm-hmm. I'm inclined to think that he either truly was possessed or he truly was insane and thought he was possessed.
Yeah.
And, like, truly, like, mentally believed that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so after he starts growling and being creepy, things go downhill. So this is where we get into the actual details of the murder. So on February 16th of 1981, Johnson called in sick to his job at the Wright Tree Service. So he was a tree trimmer. And he joined Debbie at the kennel where she worked, along with his sister Wanda and Debbie's 9-year-old cousin Mary. So Bonal, Bonal, Bono, the couple's landlord and obviously Debbie's employer, bought the group lunch at a local bar and proceeded to drink heavily, which they depict in the movie. He's like getting pretty rowdy, drinking quite a bit. After lunch, the group returned to the kennel. Debbie then took the girls to get pizza, but insisted they return quickly, anticipating trouble.
Uh-oh.
I'm assuming she just kind of knew that he was getting pretty toasty and was worried that something would happen. So when the girls did return, Bono, who was intoxicated at this point, became agitated. Everyone left the room at Debbie's urging, except Bono, who seized Mary and refused to let go. So
Jeez.
In the movie, they didn't have all these other like family members, relatives there. In the movie, he grabs Debbie and is holding on, and that's when Arnie like freaks out and like snaps. But it was actually her cousin Mary. So Arnie then headed back to the apartment and ordered Bono to release Mary. Wanda recounted the following events to the police. Mary ran for the car as Debbie attempted to mitigate the situation by standing between the two men. Wanda tried in vain to pull Johnson away. Johnson, growling like an animal, then drew a 5-inch pocket knife and stabbed Bono repeatedly. So in the movie, they say it's 22 times, I think, right? Because they, like, in the movie, they connect it to another case where someone was stabbed 22 times, but that may have just been a piece of fiction to tie it to, like, because in the movie, they, like, tie it to all these other cases, because, it's the satanic witch who's cursing people and 22 stab wounds or whatever, so that may not be factual. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
So Bono, of course, died several hours later. According to Johnson's lawyer, Bono had suffered, 4 or 5 tremendous wounds, mostly to his chest, and one that stretched from his stomach to the base of his heart. Johnson was discovered 2 miles from the site of the killing. So in the movie, he's like wandering down the street and is like, I think I hurt someone.
Super out of it.
Looks totally dazed. And he was held at the Bridgeport Correctional Center on bail of $125,000, which is a lot, I feel like, at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a lot today. It'd be a lot more back in the 80s. This was the first unlawful killing in the history of the town.
Which is so crazy.
There had not been a murder ever in the town of Brookfield.
That's got to be, like, the smallest town humanly possible.
For real. Yes. Okay, so the day after the killing, Lorraine Warren informed the Brookfield police that Johnson was possessed when the crime was committed. A media blitz soon surrounded the story, fueled in part by the Warrens, whose agents promised that lectures, a book, and even a movie detailing the gruesome case were in the works, which feels a little
years later,
like a little premature.
A little bit.
Yeah, maybe like wait a little while before you're like, we're gonna do a book and a movie and a TV show,
like everything.
Yeah, because then it makes it seem like you're money grabbers. Like I don't know. So Martin Minella was Arnie's lawyer, and they received calls from all over the world about what was being called the Demon Murder Trial. Oh. Minella traveled to England to meet with the lawyers who had been involved in 2 similar cases, though neither had ever gone to trial. He planned to fly in exorcism specialists from Europe and threatened to subpoena the priests who oversaw David Glatzel's exorcisms if they did not cooperate with the defense.
Oh, shit.
He's like, no,
That's intense.
Get those priests in here. Which, I mean, makes total sense if it did go down where he like asked the demon to take him instead of David and the priests were there and saw it, that would be, helpful.
Yeah.
The trial took place in Connecticut's Superior Court in Danbury, beginning on October 28th, 1981. Minella attempted to submit a plea of not guilty by virtue of possession, but the presiding judge, Robert Callahan, promptly rejected this defense. Like you said, Callahan argued that no such defense could ever exist in a court of law because any evidence would be irrelevant and unscientific to allow related testimony. The defense chose to imply that Johnson acted in self-defense. Because of this, the jury was not legally allowed to consider demonic possession as a viable explanation for the killing. And if your backup is to go with self-defense, that's total bullcrap. Because there's witnesses, he literally went up and ran and stabbed the guy 7 times. That's not self-defense. Have a better plan B. If demonic possession falls through, I'd go for insanity.
Right, exactly.
At least temporary insanity, that's a thing.
Yeah.
don't go with self-defense, which is total bullshit.
It wasn't self-defense.
It sure wasn't. Okay, so the jury ended up deliberating for 15 hours over 3 days before finally convicting Arne Johnson on November 24th, 1981 of first-degree manslaughter. But like you said, he only served 5 years of his sentence, which I guess is nice. It sounds like from all of the, like, people who knew him, he was a very kind, nice person. Like, his family and his girlfriend, like, stood by him, like, the whole time. So, yeah. I don't know, maybe he's
probably way out of character for him.
I believe so. So, in the aftermath, the incident led to the creation of a television film titled The Demon Murder Case on NBC, and preparations for a future film, the production of which was stalled due to internal conflicts. In 1983, Gerald Brittle, with the assistance of Lorraine Warren, published a book about the incident entitled The Devil in Connecticut, which is, like, weirdly similar to A Haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah, yep.
Lorraine Warren stated that profits from the book were shared with the family. That's nice. Mm-hmm. Sources confirmed that $2,000 was paid to the family by the book publisher. Upon the book's republication in 2006, David Glatzel and his brother Carl sued the authors and book publishers for violating their right to privacy, libel, and intentional affliction of emotional distress.
Oh shit, they coming at you.
What? Like, it's David. They, like, helped him get an exorcism. Right. That's crazy. He's like, no, you're, like, slandering our family and you invaded our right to privacy and intentional affliction of emotional distress, which...
Well, probably because they don't want to relive it again and have it come up.
I get that, and I guess if they didn't actually ask for the family's, like, permission, then maybe he'd be upset, but that's crazy that he's like, we're gonna sue your ass. Yep. Carl also claimed that the book alleged he committed criminal and abusive acts against his family and others, and he said that the possession story entirely was a hoax concocted by Ed and Lorraine Warren to exploit the family and his brother's mental illness, and that the book presented him as the villain because he did not believe in the supernatural claims. So he was like, my brother David was mentally ill, and you made it seem like a possession because you wanted a quick buck and you knew it would get a bunch of news attention.
But then why did your mom and dad call them in to get help?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Like, I don't know.
I don't think they, like, premeditated this to get money off of Ed and Lorraine.
So what he claims is that the Warrens kind of, like, came in and told them that the story, if it was, like, if we do the possession thing, that the story would make the family millions and it would help get Arne out of jail if they came forward and, like, helped with the whole, like, demonic possession case thing. So he's claiming that they, like, sensationalized it on purpose. I think probably before the David exorcism even happened, and then after Arne went to prison or whatever. And if you were really skeptical, you could even argue that the Warrens might have told Arne to kill someone. Because
I feel like that would be a little aggressive.
I agree, but I could see where they might be saying, like, hey, we're going to use... And that maybe that's why the defense went with that, like, defense plea, even though they knew it was ridiculous, because they're like, hey, we're going to have this thing happen. We're going to have Arne pretend to be possessed. He's going to kill someone. We're going to, like, use that as a defense, and then it's going to be this sensational... Because it was, like, first time that we'd ever used demonic possession as a plea and blah, blah, blah. And you could even argue that maybe they paid off the people in jail who let him out early because it was all part of the thing. I don't...
But then that would just... Then every single case that they have ever worked would be the same thing.
Yeah. If it came out, like, if they were able to prove that it was all a hoax, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm just totally playing devil's advocate. So that's Carl. He's being a little butthurt about it.
Carl.
Okay, so according to Carl, the publicity generated by the incident forced him to drop out of school and lose friends and business opportunities. I'm like, well,
that's what you
maybe
get.
You should just move to a different town.
Right.
Like, I doubt people are going to recognize, be like, oh, he's the brother of the kid of that one guy who's the boyfriend of the girl from the family. I wouldn't
even know if he walked by me on the street that it was him.
I mean, like, in your small town, probably, but...
Go somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know. Not that it's his problem. Like, he should be able to live in his own hometown without having to feel like he needs to leave, but still. So he then, in 2007, began writing a book entitled Alone Through the Valley about his version of the events surrounding his brother. He's butthurt. I don't know if he ever finished it. I don't.
God.
Lorraine Warren defended her work with the family, saying that the 6 priests who were involved in the incident agreed at the time that the boy was possessed and that the supernatural events she described were real. So that's the other thing, is like the Catholic Church approved the exorcism.
Yes, and they don't approve exorcisms without thorough investigation.
They vet that shit out.
Yes.
Unless they're taking bribes, but I doubt it. Like, yeah. Or do I? I don't know. They probably take bribes.
I mean, they go through very extensive investigations to make sure that it is actually...
And it was 6 different priests. Like, if they were bribed, I feel like one of them would come forward and, like, and, like, their conscience would be like, I have to tell the world. No, all of them maintained that it was a real exorcism and that they supported it.
Yep.
So Brittle, author of The Devil in Connecticut, says he wrote the book because, quote, the family wanted the story to be told, that he possessed video of over 100 hours of his interviews with the family, and that they signed off on the book as accurate before it went to print. So the whole, like, suing thing was like, he was like, no way, they gave me their approval.
Yeah.
Glatzel's father, Carl Glatzel Sr., denies telling the author that his son was possessed. So conflicting stories left and right.
Of course.
Johnson and Debbie, who are now married and they're still alive today. It's so cute. I think they're still alive. No, one of them just died of cancer. I think it was Debbie. I think she died like earlier this year, I want to say. It was recent. Or maybe it was Arne. I don't remember. One of them died. Sad. But they wholeheartedly support the Warrens' account of demonic possession, and they have stated that the Glatzels in question are suing simply for monetary purposes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it was Debbie. She died recently, just before the release of the movie, so it's too bad. So, of course, the next big media thing about the case was the most recent Devil Made Me Do It Conjuring entry, which I think was good. I'm sad it wasn't scarier. I wanted it to really scare my pants off. And it didn't.
It just wasn't there.
Some of it made me giggle. I was like, I shouldn't be like giggling. Like,
but it was just a little ridiculous.
Like, there's the humor scenes and then there's the scenes that are supposed to be scary. And if I'm giggling during the scenes that are supposed to be scary, you're not doing it right. But it was a different director.
Yeah, and that could have been it.
Bring James Wan back. He's good. Bring him back. Bring him back. Bring back James. So, bonus treat.
We have one little fun thing for you. So at the end credits, they, like Annie was talking about earlier, they go through like the comparison photos. And then they also had a recording of David Glatzel in one of the exorcisms that they played at the end of the credits. So I was able to find it on the YouTube.
That might have actually been the scariest part of the whole movie because it's just
so
like
creepy.
It's just silent and there's like pictures and just names of credits rolling on the screen and you just hear this like creepy and you're like, oh my god, this is horrible.
So this is on the YouTube by Dark Films. So thank you. I don't own rights to this.
Nope.
Or anything. We're just gonna play it for you.
Walk in and say the devil made me do it.
In the name of Jesus, Jesus repels you. It's on your forehead. Yes, member, you are not strong, you're weak. This boy, this is
Get up, Charlie. Wake him up. Wake him up. Do something.
He told me very well. Do nothing now.
What do you think he's been doing?
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
David, Mom's here. Mom's here. Come on, wake up. Come on. Get up. Come on, let's go. Get out of my son. Get out of my son. Come on. No.
Your mother.
David. Wake up. Get up.
In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So
that fucking
makes me so uncomfortable just listening to that laughing. Oh, we're still going.
I mean, to be fair, there's like extra like sound effects playing in the background to make it scary. And if you hear that clicking sound, it's because that like the credits were flipping through like old photos as if you're like looking at one of those old like slide projector things.
Yep.
So that wasn't part of the actual recording. But yeah, he goes like, and I'm like, fuck that shit.
I would be shitting my pants if I was ever in a room during an exorcism.
Especially if that's your kid.
Yeah.
And his mom is like, you're not my son. You're not. I'm like, holy shit, this woman is so brave. I'd be
seriously,
like, what's going
my son.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, oh God.
So there it is, friends.
There she is.
There she is. Go see the movie.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, yeah. If you didn't listen
Such
to all
a
my
good one.
spoilers earlier, first 10-ish, 15 minutes of the movie is just pure spoilers. So
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's just a spoiler episode.
it is.
Enjoy it, friends.
It's super spoiled.
So, there it is.
There it is.
If you have ever experienced anything paranormal,
Yeah.
been in a cult,
Attended an exorcism?
attended an exorcism,
Been
that'd be
exorcised?
cool to hear about.
That would be some cool shit.
Send in your story to nightmarenation19@gmail.com.
Yes. Or check us out on the Facebook, nightmare_nation19. Post some fun stuff there.
Yeah, or the Instagram nightmare.nation19.
Also, please check out this fun recipe that we're about to share with you for our next segment.
Craft cocktail cult.
Ba-dam-bam.
Okay, so this, we're going to call it a cherry splash.
Ooh, I like it. Did you totally make it up, or
Yup,
did you?
I did.
Okay. It's tasty.
Because I found a kind of recipe online. It didn't give me like specific measurements. It says to use cherry and lime juice, and I had real cherries and real limes. So I'm like,
We can make that work.
Let's see what kind of concoction I can come up with. So, what you're gonna do? I don't have really specific portions for you.
You can ballpark.
I kind of just threw it together.
I mean, there's probably a shot of tequila, like ish.
I've got some.
Okay, so you're gonna ballpark.
So
it.
in your shaker glass, in the bottom, you're gonna put. So I made 3 drinks out of my recipe I made. So I cut up in slices a full lemon, and then I would say probably about a handful of cherries, and you just throw it in there. And then I did 3 spoonfuls of sugar. You could probably do a little less because I didn't really realize cherries do have some sweetness to it.
Just
so
a little, but they're mostly tart though. I mean, they're pretty tart.
Yeah. So I could you can do a little less sugar. You can kind of play around with the flavors a little bit, and then you're gonna muddle all of that until you get a nice little goopy,
a little
slushy,
a splash
stuff.
A little splash at the bottom.
Yeah. And then you're gonna put in. I put in 4 3/4 ounces of tequila. Mm-hmm. So it's roughly around
about 3 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you put ice in your shaker along with the tequila, shake it up for 15 seconds. This one you're going to double strain into, we used a martini glass, you can use a coupe glass. Double strain it into your glass. Leave enough room then to top it off with Sprite. We had a winter spiced cranberry Sprite because all of our 7-Up we had was flat.
Oh, nice.
So we used this Sprite, and it was delicious.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, and you top it off with that, and then you garnish it with a lime.
And it's so gorgeous.
And enjoy. It's a really fun color.
It was a very appealing color, and it was very bright and refreshing, and it was a good summer cocktail. So
yeah.
Good job with your
Thank you.
making up of a drink recipe.
Just kind of threw it together and hope for the best.
That's your cherry splash, friends.
Cherry splash.
Enjoy.
If you try it out, tag us in
Please
your photo
let us know.
so we can see it.
I feel like I'm all thrown off because we did things out of order, and we gave all the contact information before we did our drink, and now I just don't know what to do with myself. Like, what comes next?
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. So I guess we can just part with our usual advice, which is ever so relevant given the fact that our story tonight was about demonic possession. Don't look a demon in the eye.
Don't ever do that.
Don't ask a demon to take you instead, or take me, or come inhabit my body. In fact, don't talk to a demon,
Don't ever
period.
do it, because that's just a stupid decision.
It's inviting it into your lives.
And you don't want that shit in your life.
The worst way to invite a demon in your life is by having a seance, which should never be done under any circumstances unless we are summoning Ed and Lorraine Warren.
That is the only exception, my friend.
And I feel like they'd be super nice and not possess us.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Yes, don't use a Ouija board.
And don't do that either.
Yeah.
So
don't do it.
Don't do it.
With that,
until next time, friends.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.